Hello, and welcome to another episode of Wing Chun Talk. Wing Chun Talk podcast is dedicated to talking all things Wing Chun. I'm your host, Shawn Benson, and I have the pleasure of sitting down with other Wing Chun practitioners from around the world. We get to talk about their journey, how they've come to find Wing Chun, maybe some struggles along the way, and some definitely successes that they found within Wing Chun. And most have a great tip or several tips for you to help improve your Wing Chun. Sit back and enjoy another episode. All right. Welcome to Wing Chun Talk episode number 11. Thanks so much for being here. Appreciate you checking out another episode. Make sure to check out all the previous episodes if you haven't already. As well, while you're here, if you like the episode, please drop me a review on iTunes. Please, it just helps other people find out about the Wing Chun Talk community. So, just want to jump right in. My special guest today, and a huge thank you to Timothy Dyck. We trained together. So again, just another guest, Wing Chun specific, drops in today to talk a little bit about Wing Chun with me. So thank you so much, Timothy, for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me, buddy. It's a pleasure and an honor to be on here with you.
Yeah, I'm glad you had some time. I know life for you right now is a little hectic, so appreciate you spending some time. We could probably give the listeners kind of a view of what's going on if you want. Otherwise, we can just move forward. Totally up to you.
Sure, yeah. I've got like a 1.5-year-old, a little bit older, I guess, but he's definitely a handful. Keeps me busy, so.
Yes. All right. So again, yeah, thanks so much for doing this, and won't mess around. We'll just kind of jump right in. Typically, I kind of ask guests, what got them into Wing Chun. So tell me a little bit about how you got into it.
Yeah, for sure. So like, I think I'm like a lot of other people. Like I just enthralled with martial arts, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, Sammo Hung, Donnie Yen, right? All the big names, right? Like just, I was like, hey, this is awesome. I love this. I want to be part of this, right? So I definitely like searched out something in Edmonton here, like, hey, like what is there, right? So I looked in the like yellow pages and stuff like that too. Hey, what are different options of martial arts?
Hang on. What are the yellow pages? You're dating us, man. What? Let's rewind that. No, please go forward there. I'm sorry about that.
So their pages where they had businesses at one point in time. Now it's all on the internet, but back then, hey,
that's awesome.
I have to look through a book to figure out what there was. So yeah, definitely like I had there's a few places in mind. There's like Shaolin Kung Fu. There's like U of A Kung Fu Club. There's a few other places, right? Like Capoeira as well. So there's a few places that kind of like was on the pages there. So I ended up like I saw like the U of A's Kung Fu Club when I was at the Butter Dome. Kind of like I was doing some running there, so I was like just walking around. I think it was by the fountain or something like that. I was like, hey, look at this. Decided to give it a shot and sat in on the class there. So that's what how I got introduced to Wing Chun. I should say, like into the class or looking at it from outside in, I guess.
Cool. So would you say, I know you said martial arts and movies and kind of that background, but was it that drew you to it, or was it like the physical? Were you looking you said you were running, so your fitness was kind of top of mind at the time there, and was that one of the reasons that you jumped into it?
Kind of a combination of both. Just like the love of martial arts, just like from what I've seen on like movies and TV. I know it's not the real thing, or like what is like, like what to expect, right? Like, because it's not like that at all. But there's that portion of it, but also like definitely the fitness. Like just staying in shape. Like maintaining like kind of like mind and body and like maybe spirit at the same time. Kind of like all three. So
cool. All right, so you walk through the door, do the sit in on kind of the overview, kind of get your either sit in the first one, your first class, or maybe you participated. I can't remember how they start you off, but so you did that, and then you pulled the trigger. You decided, yep, I'm definitely want to join this club. I want to learn Wing Chun. Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah. Yeah, well, like just definitely there's like people like, sparring. There's like multicultural, like every culture you possibly see is in there doing their thing. There's like various age groups as well, from like kids to like guys that were like, in their 70s. I was like, hey, like, I like this is for like everyone, right? So that is, I was like, hey, this is for me, right? I want to be, also be part of a club, right? Like, it's different than like maybe being part of a team, but like versus a club, I should say, like, but it just felt like everyone seemed like they're like, you know, um, like mentoring each other, right? Like, it didn't matter the belt of like training with a different belt. It just seemed like everyone was like, hey, picture form like this, or like, move your hand like this. It just seemed really like positive. So that's what I liked as well, right? A very positive atmosphere too.
Right on. Yeah. Like everyone's helping each other, kind of training each other, sort of there. Yeah, that's awesome. We were talking a little bit before this. You said you tried a couple different styles. Now, tell me just briefly. You mentioned one, capoeira. Is that?
Yeah, that's right. So it's like I just sat in on this one because I was like, there's no way I'm like participating in this. Like these guys have like drums, they're like drumming away.
Yeah.
People are breakdancing, like doing full out moves, and I'm like handstands, kicks, and flips. I'm like, what is happening? Like I can't do this.
Yeah. So you're like, hell's no, that's not for me.
Yeah. Take
You're
a
out.
step back. Nope.
Nice. So, did you go to? I just want to dig in on the beginning bit here because I find it just quite interesting on people's stories, for one, on how they found it. Like I think I was mentioning to you, I saw a VHS tape. Yeah, again, I'm dating myself. Of some friends of mine's video that they recorded on one of their gradings, and it was the same deal. I saw it. I was just like, "This is so cool. I need to do this. I got to find a spot up in Edmonton is kind of where I was located as well. So they recommended a couple schools or clubs in the city, and again, I did the same thing. But I walked into the one Wing Chun Club, and that was the one for me. So was that your kind of thing? Were you martial arts kind of hopping?
Yeah, I was just like,
yeah,
this is the one for me. Yeah, exact same thing. I was just like, I watched like the encouragement from other people helping other belts. And I was like, I like this. I want this. Right.
nice.
So
nice. So cool.
But it was a little awkward me starting because like the only day that I had available to start was like working on or that was off work at that time was Sundays. So like usually Sundays is our dummy training class, right? Like, a little more hands on, right? So so this is my first class, like my first day training, and Sifu and Sue they introduced themselves. Okay, we're gonna work on some stances, like cat stance, like the horse stance. And so like we did some of those. So Sue was like, "Hey, I want you to do horse stance, get right down deep into it." Okay. And she leaves. She was like, helping other people like do their training, maybe do some dummy practice stuff. I don't know. So I'm just in there, like just in this stance, and I'm just sweating. Like I'm just like, okay, like, is this a test, right? Like what am I doing, right? So I'm just like holding it, just shaking, just like, okay, I can hold this, right?
Testing your willpower.
Yeah. Sue comes back after a while, and she's like, holy crap, oh wow, okay, you're still in that? Okay, like no, like rest. I'm just like, oh thank goodness, just drenched with sweat, right? So she's like, oh, like he's never coming back, right?
right. Ruin your first experience.
Yeah. But I kept going. I passed the test.
Nice. So how do you find being a beginner? Like, I mean, I haven't really talked to too many people or my previous guests on that stuff. But like, how did you find, kind of the first couple months, if you can remember them?
Well, I just remember being like a little bit intimidating, right? Because everyone else is wearing belts but you, right? You're
Mm,
like looking down, you're like, I got nothing holding this up, my pants up, I feel kind of naked, right?
right.
Like, people are like looking at you too, like, oh, who's this, right? So it just felt a little different, right? Like, okay, like you almost feel kind of judged, but at the same time, you're like, hey, like I'm just starting off. Everyone else started like me, like not
Exactly
knowing
where you
anything at
were.
all, right?
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yep.
Standing there thinking, okay, like what did I just decide to do, right? Like, is this okay? Am I gonna make it, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, just I think that soon passes because you build relationships with people, right? Like, I think I've already touched on this before, but like, you've got like maybe someone who's like a yellow belt working with like a new white belt, and they're just like, hey, like, hold your hands like this. Okay, maybe try this. So it's all very positive. So it felt like, hey, like no one's really judging you at all, right? It's just like they've been there before, but they're saying, hey, this is a tip I have for you, right? So it's like it felt very positive. I really enjoyed
Hmm. No, that's awesome. And yeah, so good that you had a positive experience. Do you feel though, because just kind of get a feeler question for you, like that some
that.
people overtell, or I mean, did you appreciate everybody giving you, tips, or did you find sometimes that was overwhelming? It's just like I still need to learn A, B, and C before I learn, that E thing, whatever that is.
Definitely. Like I think at some points you felt like overwhelmed, like, hey, like, am I messing up everything here? Do I just look dumb? Like, am I not doing this right at all?
Hmm.
Or it's just like, okay, like the guy I was with last time told me to do it like this, but you're telling me that's wrong and I got to hold it like this, right? So you felt kind of like, what's happening here? Like, how come I'm being told one thing here, but someone else over here is telling me different? So it felt maybe a little overwhelming at times,
Hmm.
but did I do that too when I became a higher belt? Was I like, hey, you need to do this when you got a green belt or someone higher saying, no, you got to do that. So I
Hmm.
don't know.
No, I totally hear that, and I feel kind of the same way. It's just like how much do you tell when you pair up, because usually there's limited time for one, and then there's you know how much do you critique this person, because you could make them feel silly or inadequate, or you could make them feel all these certain ways and overwhelm them and scare them potentially.
Yeah,
But that didn't happen to you. Like, it obviously didn't scare you.
no. I also kind of like had maybe like a mentality like perhaps everyone has like a slightly different style. Like, hey, like you're doing it correct, but this person has a style like this per se, maybe like to
Mm,
hold their hand like this, or maybe like when they have their bond style out, it's like it's a little different than the previous partner you had, right? So it's like,
right. Just body types. Sure. Oh, it's
yeah,
interesting.
different body type, and like maybe like you got someone who's more relaxed versus someone who's like more tense, right, per se.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm. Awesome. So okay, so you made it through that nerve wracking beginner phase of new guy. Everybody's looking at you. Nothing to hold up your pants, and that's a whole nother conversation that I've had a couple times with guests and uh,
hmm
previous guests about belts, non-belts. But so yeah, the club we train at, belt systems are in place. Um, helps organize the class, in my opinion, and just you know lets everybody know kind of where they are situated. Yeah, that's all I'll say on that.
okay.
But for you, you made it past that beginner phase of everybody giving you two tips or tips and tricks,
hmm
um, and then did you get into that routine then too as you kind of move forward in the journey there?
Um, can you repeat that like a little bit, just so I can like wrap my head around the question a little bit, so maybe it can come with a
Sorry,
different
were
angle
you
for it.
in
Yeah.
the position to give tips and tricks, and did you choose to do that?
Um, I think maybe it's a natural thing to do, right? Like if you know, I don't think maybe I did it as much as some per se, but like as you know, I think that's a natural thing to do. Like you do want to correct because that's part of a club mentality is like helping people, right? Like, hey,
Mm,
like I want to help you learn and grow as a martial artist as well, right? Like, hey, this is what I was taught, and maybe this will help you, right? So I think there is naturally some of that, anyways, right? You're gonna do it maybe a little bit, but I tried not to do it too much because I don't know. I think it can be a little tiring hearing like critiques all the time too, right? So,
Yeah,
but
no.
at the same time, if I'm doing something totally wrong, I'd want someone to say like, "Hey, you're doing it totally wrong," versus no one saying anything, and you get further, and everyone's just like, "What are you doing?"
Why is your bonsai like that? Or why? Yeah. No, I hear that. When it's a glaring, maybe mistake or error,
Yeah,
for sure. But yeah, I find these little tweaks sometimes can be not nitpicky, but because like obviously you want everybody to excel and you want everybody doing things well and um, to bring bring the level of the club up, right? So I mean, but sometimes yeah, you can kind of get held up on a little tweak here and a little tweak there, and some of that will just be figured out over the development of time and training stuff like that. So
for sure.
awesome.
I'll I want to like tell you a story about my second class. My second class was a weapons class. Like
Okay,
after
so
my first class,
hang on. Before you get into so your first class was a dummy class, and they put you in
yeah,
and you held that stance,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then the second class was weapons.
yeah. So like as I'm leaving, she was like, "Hey, like you interested in like a weapons training class?" And I was
Get
like,
out of here!
"Sure."
No
Like
way.
how much is it? What do I got to do? Okay, great. And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do the knife and short stick training class. Why not? That's something new to learn, right?"
Yeah.
So like the following week was that class. So I go there not knowing anything. Like I just did stances last time, really. So like I don't know anything. So
I'm sorry, I'm
they
laughing here.
so they put you up together with partners. So they're like, hey, you and you, okay, here's your plastic, 8-inch rubber knife,
Hmm.
and this is what you do, right? You like the striker comes down like overhead strike, and the next person does like a bonsai. I don't know what that means, right? So
Right.
the partner I'm with like has like he knows I'm a weight belt, but he's like, okay, whatever. Like, and he just slams that like rubber knife right into my chest, like boom. He's like, you got to block it, dude. And I was just like, how? I don't know how to block it. He's just like, you do a bond sound. I was like, okay, what's that? Right? She's like, okay, you go like this. I was like, all right. Wham! Hits my chest again. I was like, what is happening? So like, I came away from that class with a very bruised chest, is what I can say.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Wow.
I'm not even kidding. Not even joking. Not even lying. Like I had like this bruised chest just from getting like this rubber knife like jammed
Yeah.
into my chest like all afternoon, right? So
Multiple times. Brutal. No, I remember. Yeah. What drew? I mean, obviously something new and weapons are super cool, but did you have
yeah,
any idea that you'd need some kind of techniques or some of the basic
I,
techniques?
I probably should have known that, but I was like, hey, it's cool.
That's a little bit
I'll just take
surprising,
it.
but I mean, not really. But I mean, just that I can't remember. We haven't had a workshop for a little while now. I'm pretty sure they're open to everybody, so it
Yeah.
does make sense. But yeah, it's funny. That's that's a funny thing. Were they overhand jabs or were they just the thrust kind of like I'm gonna stab
Well,
you?
it was like a little bit of everything because they like, they teach you like, hey, like, the blades come in like this. You do like a ton sow or like, chin sow or like bond sow just to kind of get rid of that, right?
Sure.
Like they had all these like moves in place, like, hey, this you step to the side and you go like, like with both hands in there if you want, right?
Hmm.
But the biggest thing that like, Sifu walked away saying like, hey, no one be a hero, right? This isn't about you becoming a hero and like you can stop every knife. Someone pulls a knife, you run away or like walk away because that's no, it's not worth you dying, right? Like
Hmm.
even you can do this training course over and over again, still don't do it. Like don't
Hmm.
engage that, right?
Hmm.
So
It's interesting you say that because I went to one, and I can't remember, fairly recent, but a long while ago. And my takeaway too, even using those little black, whatever they are, kind of plasticky knives, it's scary, like how easily you could get cut. Like, I mean, if someone has a
yeah,
knife, it's super dangerous. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you're sticking around, which I'm not endorsing, anything like that. I'm just talking about training, knife training, simple workshops with a rubber blade. I mean, I realized how easily I could have got cut.
100%.
Yeah, it was an eye opener for me, and it's interesting too. A couple other there's different clubs that do knife training or um, the sticks, and I'm sorry,
The
eskrima.
short sticks, yeah.
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 So that's a nice compliment that some Wing Chun clubs I know offer. Not ours specifically, but um, yeah. Well, that's so you healed from that course and healed your
I
ego,
did.
or what? Yeah.
Well, I didn't quit after that either. Like, like I did like 2 weeks back to back of just pure, like, I don't know, like just learning as well as like pain. And I came
Punishment.
away stronger, right? So,
Nice, nice, cool, man. Nah, that's awesome. I kind of want to transition to like after. So you made it through that first hurdle of being the beginner, which totally is intimidating and can suck and maybe all these different feelings. But once you moved through that, did you find you had any, I don't know, like a stagnant bit in your training, or you had plateaued at some point, or you had gotten frustrating, or was everything hunky dory for you? And by hunky dory, I mean like,
um,
really, really good.
well, I, I think that like, I took like when I like kind of like it felt like a workout to me. Like when I was there, like, hey, you start up with the warm up, then you get with a partner. It just felt like, like, hey, this is like a good exercise. This is a good place where I want to be. Sort of deal like that. Like, you know,
Mm.
you may not see eye to eye with your partner all the time, but it's just like you're training, you're building yourself up. So I try not to think of it like, hey, like I did kicks last week, I'm doing kicks again this week. Oh, grown. But it's just like it felt like training, right? Like you're building yourself, right? Like, you keep doing push-ups to keep getting stronger, right? Like, or you do
Uh,
sit-ups, like, like, sure, they're not fun, but you can do them like every day, but it's part of your training, right? It's part of building up. So I tried to take it away like that instead of like being like, I'm not happy where I'm at. Like, I wish maybe I chose something else sort of deal. I just felt like, hey, this is part of my workout. This is part of my routine. This is what I chose. I enjoy what I'm doing. And that's kind of like where I went with it personally. So I
nice.
don't know if other people had different kind of feelings of maybe they felt stagnant or whatever, but I felt like it was just, it's part of my exercise, part of my routine, part of my week that I like look forward to, right? Is going there and doing my training.
No, that's perfect. And I mean, I guess I have a reason for asking that, and I'll explain that in a bit. But that's great, man. That's a great mindset to have. Yeah, and just like enjoy every class, whether it's a repeat of maybe the previous week or a couple weeks ago you did something similar. But no, that's good.
Yeah.
And I guess to clarify, the reason I ask is like I went through. I kind of had two sequences of training. It seems like I could kind of break it down to a beginning section where I trained for several years, and then I had a gap in my training. So then I kind of went back, but I had to start from the beginning because I'd taken such a big gap, I guess, that I started from beginner again. So I think at one point I got super frustrated in the sense of, well, I'm past this point, but I wasn't past that point on my second time around. Like I wasn't further on. I just kept thinking, oh, I got this belt previously. I should be better than I am, but I just clearly wasn't. So, anyways, that's kind of why I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to ask if you had that.
Well, I guess I can relate to that. Like I had an injury that I had to leave for some time actually. Like, um, we were doing a bunch of kick classes and stuff like that, and I felt of like a big, strong, like, like kind of like a pain in my groin, and I was like, okay, this is not good. Like maybe I pulled a muscle, I kicked a little too high, kicked a little too wild or something like that. I don't know what I did.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you do your whole like rest, ice elevation. You kind of like, you kind of like take care of this thing. I like missed the week after that, Gave a little time to rest, went back, more kicks. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? I'm still feeling that pain. Ended up going to a doctor, and the doctor said, hey, you've got a hernia. So this is, you
No.
can't continue, you can't continue training. You have to stop, right? So that is, so like, kind of like similar as a story, like I ended up going back, and it's like same thing, like, you're not that belt anymore. You have to start again. So there was a little bit of that too. So I guess I can understand. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked about it a couple times, I think, on. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but uh, the thing that helped was I got together with a senior student, and he'd come back from Hong Kong. I don't know if you know the story, but so we just kind of hung out together. He showed me after being at Hong Kong for, I can't remember if he was there for a full year, after he trained here for several years, going there doing some full time training, and coming back, and I just kind of told him, yeah, I'm a little frustrated, and he just recommended, like a couple books, check these out, see what you think of them, and kind of I had a reframe, I guess, of my situation, so to speak, after reading some of these. I think it was the Wing Chun Compendium was the first volume, just kind of an interesting read. But he speaks to just enjoying, like you were saying, enjoying every class, enjoying together with fellow people like yourself too, that are enjoying the same thing, getting a good sweat on. If you want to chat after class with so and so, you have maybe a little social. If not, you go home and had a nice little workout and learn something.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it sounds like you had from the beginning, and obviously until kind of the injury, and then that was a huge step back for you. Hey?
Yeah, that was not fun. It's like when a hernia specialist says it's the worst hernia he's seen, it's not a good one.
Jeez. How did you modify training? Tell me a little bit about, after, like, did you break and then sorry, so you had the injury, had a gap there, and then you tried to go back, or how'd that go?
Yeah, I came back for a little bit as well. Yeah, just uh, it was a little like rough to start because like, hey, you're used to training like every week, and then you're off for like I was off for a while. I think I was off for almost a year just because you don't feel normal, you don't feel right. Like you just had this severe abdominal surgery. Going back to martial arts, it took some time to get back there, and you know to get back, it almost felt like normal again. Like, hey, this is what I'm getting back into. Like, hey, I'm seeing familiar faces again, but there's also new faces. I've never seen them before.
Mm.
And also, there's like that little bit of a like people that don't know you were like, hey, like, how come all these people know this white belt, right? Like, so it's a little awkward in some instances starting again like that. So,
Right, right. Yeah, no kidding. So are you healed up now?
I'm all healed up now. Yeah, just another thing's got in the way too. Like when I was training, I had like some hip issues too. So like if I'm doing like a sit up, my hips would click in and click out, right? So it'd be like click, click, and everyone can hear it, right? Like everyone's like, "Are you okay, dude? Like you're really clicking over there, right?" So
Mm,
I also had to do some modified training as well, like just to kind of like build up like my hip strength as well. So
mm. Typically, I ask everybody I chat with.
yeah,
I might have forgotten one or two guests, but I'm looking for a tip you'd like to share with listeners here, Timothy, that you
um,
think people could benefit from.
well, I think it's definitely like paying attention to your body, right? Like yeah, like I could have just like blown off like my hernia is like a pulled muscle, like not gone to the doctor investigated further, right? But
Mm,
like hey, you're training, you're you want to look after yourself, right? So I think just one of the big things is just, like I said, just knowing your body. Yeah, if something's like definitely saying something's not right or wrong here, like definitely get it checked out. Get like a doctor's opinion as well,
mm,
because like
mm,
what if something happened, right? Like what if I like that like caused further injury by me not investigating, right? So just I think the big thing is just being in tune with your body, and yeah, that's about it. I think so.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah. It's funny you say that. No, it's not funny you say that. I take that back. But what I find interesting is, yeah, I tweaked something, just training at home a little while ago, and it kind of scary. Not scary in the sense of like, oh, I'm so worried, but a shoulder, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that joint is pretty complex. So I basically kind of stopped some at home training and just like you did, listen to my body. It's just like, wow, that feels off. Something feels off. So yeah, put a hold to the training as much as I could. Obviously, I wanted to kind of move it and things, but tried to let it heal the best as possible. And now I'm doing some more stuff with it, thankfully, and trying to work the range of motion a little bit more and hitting my dummy. Before it was totally, it felt really uh, or better. Before it felt better, it's in my garage, and I was walking past, and I was like, I'm gonna see how my shoulder's feeling, and I did a couple moves, and then I just did a low palm strike to like the midsection. It's just like, oh, that's not quite healed yet. Um, so I was just like, I'll give it a little bit more time. Don't want to rush it and really mess it up.
For sure.
Yeah. All right, man. What else? You got anything else you want to share before we wrap up for this episode here?
Um, it just depends if you want more stories.
What do you got, man? Tell me one more story before we finish for this one here.
Okay. So like I was a yellow belt at this time.
Yeah.
I was with my partner. My partner was pretty intense. He had like leg weights on. He had like wrist weights on. This guy was intense.
Whoa. In the club?
Yeah. So he's like, we do like the warm up. He has like the leg weights on. He's doing
Oh,
kicks. He has the leg weights on. He has the punches. He's got the arm weights on. This
yeah,
guy's hardcore.
yeah.
He's like a champ. So like we were like, I get put with this guy for sticky hands. I'm yellow belt. I'm fairly new at the sticky hands, but hey, let's get into it, right? So like, you're kind of like relax the shoulders. You're getting right in there. All of a sudden, thwack! I get hit in the face. I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? Like, am I doing something wrong? Okay, like just a simple exercise, like kind of relaxing, nothing too serious. But I'm getting hit in the face. Okay, whatever. So, maybe I gotta go like, be a little more intense. So I like, push out my bonds out a little better. Like kind of get my elbows in tighter. Slack again. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Okay, like elbows even tighter. Okay, even harder. I get a third whack, but this time was hard. Like my nose is bleeding. And
What?
and like, yeah, I'm like, what is happening, right? So like, you know, Sifu comes over and he's like, whoa, okay, stop, break it up. And like, I'm just like pouring my like white shirt is just bloody.
No way.
Yeah, I go to the bathroom and I'm just like trying to like get all the blood out of my shirt, sort of be like that, like Kleenex on the nose, sort of be like that. Sifu comes in like, hey, are you okay? Like, what's happening, right? Like, yeah, I just got like punched in the face doing the sticky hands. It's like, no, that's not right. Like, okay, he got a different partner, I got a different partner. Yeah, so that was like the most intense sticky hands I've ever done, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was he quite a higher level than you, or was he about? I missed that beginning. Was he
I,
just
I think he's if I remember correctly, he's quite a couple belts higher than me. So
okay?
I don't even know where it came from. Just like I don't know.
Just super intense and maybe a little
Yeah,
ego maybe got into play there, maybe.
yeah, I guess so. Like I think that must have been it, or just hey, I'm gonna show this younger belt, teach him a lesson. I guess I don't know.
Brutal, and you got the brunt. You got clipped right in
Yeah,
the
I got to.
nose, eh?
Yeah,
And you kept on coming back.
yeah. What can
Good
I say? I'm
for
a glutton
you.
for punishment.
Sorry.
I guess I have like glutton for punishment. I suppose just
Uh,
like
that's awesome.
builds character, makes me stronger, right? So
Of course. Yeah. Nice. No, that's a good.
and it makes good stories, right?
Oh, great stories, man. I remember we had quite a interesting group, and interesting. I mean, like we do more socials previously. Hey, so that
For
was
sure.
good fun times. Good fun times.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I'm like definitely open too. Like if you want to like hang out or have me on as a guest again, I'd gladly come on again, or even just hang out and we could just chat once the world gets back to normal. Hey.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you being on. I know we had a little tech issues at the beginning, but we seem to have got it started. So
Mm-hmm.
on that note, yeah, I just if people want to get in touch with you, Timothy, I here's an option. If you don't want anybody to, that's totally cool. I know you're part of the Wing Chun Talk group,
For
correct?
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And then if anybody else wants to reach you,
Yeah. I'm on Instagram, Timmy Dyck, and as well as like I'm on Facebook as well. Not too common on there, but hey, I'm on Messenger, so if someone wants to reach out to me, they can for sure.
perfect, awesome. Well, again, thanks so much for joining in the Wing Chun Talk, and I'm glad to have had you and kind of dig into being a beginner again. That's an interesting phase, so I appreciate you chatting with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I really enjoyed it and had a blast just chatting.
Reminisce, yes, awesome, cool, man. Thank you so much, and catch you on the next one.
Yeah, cheers. Take care.